I'm Danny Crouch from Choose Your Chapter, and I'm about to start doing some recordings around becoming a professional poker player. I've been playing poker off and on for about 12 years now, and I really want to make a serious go of it. So, who am I and where do I come from? I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, in Queensland, and my background is in coaching, around business coaching, life coaching, that sort of stuff, helping individuals start their own business. And a lot of what I've done is based around the psychological and emotional roller coaster that you tend to go through when you're starting out in business. So the way I want to look at it is I want to take on poker and it become my job per se and do it full time and really try and get serious about it. So this recording, whether it's on YouTube or a podcast, it's not necessarily going to be looking at hand breakdowns or bad beats or talking about the actual cards. It's going to be more around monitoring my psychological and emotional movements as I go through time, how I study, how I prepare, how I handle certain situations, and what I'm doing to improve and better myself. So basically what I've been doing, I've been playing tournament poker, really low level sort of stuff, as in cost wise. There was a lot of free roll stuff here for quite some time. I thought I was a reasonably good player. I'd quite often top the tables in the venues or in the regions and stuff like that. Never really went on and won any massive tournaments, but I had a pretty good average making final tables and winning those low level tournaments. So I have played at the casino a couple of times, just in the $1, $2 cash games. This was going back 3 or 4 years ago. Never really took it seriously and lost my money as you would, because I didn't really know what I was doing. So it's now Sunday the 1st of March. So I have a few intentions that I want to go through. I'm actually going to keep a diary, if you can see that there, and put in each day my daily intentions, my weekly intentions every Sunday. And what I'm also going to focus on is, in my own coaching, I use a psychometric tool called the Clifton StrengthsFinder, which identifies your natural talents, the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. So I've done a lot of research into my own strengths and talents, and I'm going to base a lot of what I'm talking about on my talents. So I like to focus on my top 7. There are 34 in all, but I like to focus on my top 7. Out of those 7, 4 of them are highly influential talents. And then I've got a couple of strategic thinking talents and a relationship building talent. I don't have any executing talents in my top 17, so I'm not great at getting things done. However, I'm pretty good at getting things started. So the reason I like to focus on 7, there being 7 days of the week, I just happen to be born on the 7th of the 7th. So 7 is a number that I really like to work towards. So Sunday, being the 7th day of the week, is my 7th strength is communication. So I thought, what a great day to do the recordings on a Sunday, where with the poker, I'm probably going to be looking at playing down at the casino on a Thursday, Friday and Saturday night. So Sunday will be like a recap, how I've managed the situation, how things are all going, and keeping everything up to date. And also it's about accountability. So there may never be anyone that actually listens or watches this other than myself. But I want to go back and watch this over time, and it keeps me accountable to keep me on track. So I left my job in November last year, which was 2019. I was a business coach and mentor. I've been there a few years and basically helping others. And for the last couple of months, I've been looking for another outlet. I've got a few clients on the side that I service. I look after a couple of companies. I've done plenty of coaching over the years with sporting teams, different individuals, relationships, and in business. So I'm really going to turn that on its up end and really look at myself and how I can coach and motivate myself to get to where I want to go to. So going back to the strengths, each day I'm going to set up my strength of the day and develop my intention for that day. So it's going to be based around study. It's going to be based around what I want to intend on doing. So as I said, from the beginning of the year, I've been looking to do this. I really wanted to get going, becoming a professional poker player, and I've been procrastinating, basically. the 1st of March. So I have some issues, obviously, as a business coach. I've wanted to buy into businesses, and me being a highly influential person from a strengths perspective, what that also means is that I can be highly influenced. So I bought into some really bad businesses that have cost me a lot of money. And I trust and believe a lot of people because that's what my strengths are. It's seeing the good in others to want to reach a level of excellence. So I've made some mistakes over my time. I've lost a lot of money in property and businesses, and that's life. And it's about making mistakes, and that's what we're looking towards doing, is reducing those number of mistakes. So for the month of February, I was thinking every weekend, yep, I'm going to start. I'm going to set my bankroll up. I'm going to get going. But I just kept procrastinating, and I kept sitting back going, oh, maybe not yet. Maybe I haven't done enough study. Maybe I haven't done enough yet. So I'm going to look at putting together an intention for the month of March. So I'm 46 years of age now, which generally means for about the last 30 years, I've been a heavy drinker, heavy smoker, and a heavy gambler. So I used to bet on the horses, I play the poker machines, and obviously I play a lot of poker. So for the month of March, my monthly intention is to stop drinking for the month, or to be alcohol free for the month. I'm also going to look to give up smoking for at least the month, if not for good, and then also gambling, apart from playing poker. But what I want to try and do is reduce the gambling side of poker and actually make it more about the mindset and focusing on playing well and reducing mistakes. So with that in mind, today being the 1st of March, today is the first day of the month that I'm going to focus on improving myself. So what I've basically done through February, I kept playing the low-level tournaments that I've been involved in. They're like $8, $20 buy-ins, and I've taken them as just sort of a not going out there to necessarily win the tournament. It's about changing up my range, doing different things in different situations, and really trying to read the table. And outside of that, I've also been looking at buying into some programs and learning more about poker. So first off, I bought the Masterclass, which has got Daniel Negreanu and Phil Ivey. There's about, I'm guessing, somewhere around 15 hours worth of video content. Learned a fair bit there, but it wasn't enough. I'll go back and watch it again and again. But it was a lot of the basics, and it started to open up doorways to graphs and all sorts of different information that I've never really looked at. I used to think of myself as a very tight, aggressive player, and I'm now learning that I need to open up that range. And I had some bluffs in my game, but if there was anyone at the table that was good at what these guys are saying in their classes, I'd probably be quite easy to read at that time. So from there, I started watching a lot of YouTube clips, and then I found a guy by the name of Jonathan Little. And my intention is either today or tomorrow, excuse me, to buy his coaching program. I think it's pokercoaching.com. So I've watched a lot of the videos on his blog and enjoy the content. And for me, it's not so much about who the coach is or the actual quality or if one's better than the other. It's more about the accountability, and it's about actually participating in some form of coaching each and every day and studying and learning and better improving myself. Then with that in mind, Thursday night is probably going to be my first evening that I'm going to go down to the casino and start playing. I've been looking at how to set up a bankroll, what's involved in that. Now, just to give you, I'll take a step back and I just want to talk about my strengths again, and it might give you a better understanding of how I think and feel and how that then creates issues and opportunities for me. Sorry, I haven't spoken on camera or to a recording in a long time, so I've got a nice little hair in my throat. And it doesn't help that last night I went out and had a few drinks, being the last day of the month of February, with looking down the face of not having a drink for a month. So if we go from the top, so I'm just going to share my top 7 talents, and I'll give you a little bit of insight into what they are and how they work. And I love doing this sort of stuff. I do it as part of my business, but I would do it every day if I could. Probably enjoy it more than I enjoy poker. It's just, unfortunately, what I find in Australia, that personal and professional development, yes, it's on the list of things that people should do, but they tend not to do it. And when they do invest in it, they they lose insight and they lose interest in it pretty quickly. But anyway, getting off the tangent. So my number one talent is maximizer. Now what I've also done is for the 7 days, I'm going to write the description in every day, every week, and just really grind it into my well-being that this is what this is. So a generic description of maximizer is you focus on quality and you prefer working with and for the best. By seeing what each person naturally does best and empowering them to do it, you make individuals, teams, and groups better. So a lot of what the StrengthsFinder does, it enables you to focus on what you can bring to others. What I want to look at doing this is how is it affecting me and how is it impacting me. So I want to look at what is good in my game and how I can make that great. I don't have a lot of time for weakness. I don't have a lot of time for mistakes. So that's where this talent can really grind me into the ground in the sense of feeling like I'm not good enough and not being at that level of excellence. So listening to a couple of these videos, it's been reminded over and over again that you're not going to win every hand. You've got to take the losses. What's important is reducing the mistakes, okay? So instead of beating myself up for making a mistake, it's about identifying it and looking at ways to improve on that. And that's where I can really utilize my maximizer. What that also means is, and this is where the procrastination comes in, is that if I don't feel like I'm at a good enough level, I'll stop and I won't actually move forward and get something going. And this is why I've been hesitating to actually get down the road and actually start playing. So I've just got to make that decision, and I'll share with you another talent further down the 7 that will explain how I can actually use my other talents. So that'll be Monday. I'll be focusing on my maximizer. On Tuesday is connectedness. So maximizer is an influencing talent. Connectedness is a relationship building talent. And the description here is you build bridges between people and groups. You help others find meaning by looking at the bigger picture of the world around them, and you give them a sense of comfort and stability in the face of uncertainty. So what does that mean? I connect a lot of things, and that can be great on the poker table, and it can also be a hindrance. However, my goal here is to look at the connections between the way certain people play certain hands and how they play in position and what position they're at, and really start to pick up on their tells, hopefully. That's going to be my intention using connectedness, and also connecting with people around the table, engaging with them, having discussions, trying to not manipulate, but influence them into telling me stories or letting me know what's going on inside their head, and sharing some insight. Also, something else that's really been hit home with a lot of these coaching videos is it's also great to have a group of people either on the same level or above you at the poker tables that you can actually talk about hands and break down hands, and that's where I can use my connectedness as well, is to connect with other poker players and really analyse the game and look at how we can improve both as individuals and as other players. So that's Tuesday's connectedness. Not quite sure yet. However, there is a Tuesday afternoon tournament just in town. It's a $8 buy-in, so it's not about the money again. This is just about learning. So Tuesdays can be my day that I go and connect with people at the local pub game. Wednesday, day 3, is ideation. So this is my first strategic thinking strength. Now the definition there, you are fascinated by ideas because you enjoy looking at the world from different perspectives and are always searching for connections. You are a powerful and creative brainstorming partner. So for me, this really helped through my business coaching in the sense of I could help these startups come up with new ideas and new marketing strategies and new ways to develop their business. How does that relate to the poker table? I guess it's about being creative, playing different hands in different ways, and really trying to come up with strategies and ideas around how can I better improve. You combine that with connectedness and maximizer, and you can start to see that I'm going to connect with people to create better ideas to increase my level of excellence. So Wednesday is probably going to be a sort of more of a study day, where I'm going to focus on ideating, I suppose, and trying to come up with new ideas to prepare for the weekend's playing of poker. Then Thursday, day 4, Now, this is the other influencing talent in my top 5, but this is what's going to help my maximizer. It's activator. Okay, so you are a catalyst. You naturally know how to turn ideas into action, and you make things happen. Your energy can be contagious and engaging. So even though I don't have any executing talents in my top 17, this is the one that actually gets me going. It really gets the ball rolling. And if I want to, I can bring it to the forefront and really let it loose. And this is where I've got in trouble in the past, in business and in investments and stuff like that, is my activator has just overtaken everything and I've just jumped in. As they say, we tend to jump in the deep end and don't really look around at what's going on. A common phrase for activators is ready, fire, aim. So we just start shooting before we actually start aiming at anything. So I'm going to really call on my activator to get started and get going. And that will be Thursdays, again, which is probably the first night of the week that I'm going to actually get down to the casino with the aim to try and find a softer type of game on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. One thing, again, that's really hit home is a lot of these coaches are saying it's about putting the hours in. It's about playing as many hands as possible. So it's not looking at going down there for 1 or 2 hours and just trying to make $500 and then disappear. It's about putting the hours in, really turning this into a full-time job. Now, I do have a little bit of cash on the side that I've saved up. That's going to be my bankroll. One thing that's really important, I do have a partner, Nicole, that I'm not dipping into our life savings. This is something that I'm doing on myself with the intention of it becoming my job. So with that in mind, the recommendation I've heard so far is to buy into cash games. You want to look at about 20 buy-ins. So on a $1 to $3 table, a buy-in is maximum $300, I think. So 20 buy-ins is about $6,000. I don't really feel comfortable putting that much in yet. So the other option was you can use a lower bankroll, but contribute to topping it up with a sort of a part-time job or something on the side. So with my coaching, I'm also going to look at doing some ride sharing with the focus of paying my bills through that cash and then using my bankroll and topping it up maybe $50 or $100 a week, just adding cash to it. I've also got a couple of Airbnb properties, so that does help a little bit with paying the bills. And it's also, as a self-employed person, I obviously haven't contributed to superannuation for quite some time. So that second property is my nest egg. So that's my retirement fund. So that's what I'm putting money towards there. And Airbnb tends to do that quite well and covers the bills. So that's Thursday. I'm going to get the ball rolling. Now, each and every day, as I said, I've got a weekly intention. So my weekly intention is to do 25 hours of study a week minimum. So I'll be looking at somewhere around 4 to 5 hours a day of watching these coaching content and stuff. Oh, excuse me. Coaching content and stuff like that. Yes, this is the first recording I'm doing, so it's going to be a bit raw. I'm sort of watching myself back on the camera down here, and it doesn't look like it's timed too well. I haven't even tested the sound. I've got no idea how that's going to work, but anyway. So that's Activator on Thursday. On Friday is number 5, which is Futuristic, another strategic thinking strength. So futuristic, you are a visionary. Your powerful anticipation and detailed visualization of a better future can turn aspirations into reality. Your vision of tomorrow can inspire and push others to new heights. So again, looking at that from a business coaching perspective, great, helping them out, painting a picture of what their business can look like down the track. In this instance, it's about not getting too far ahead of myself. It's not, aiming to win the World Series of Poker, $10,000 buy-in and winning $10 million and all that sort of stuff. Yes, it sounds great. I'd love to be there in a few years' time. However, my futuristic is about pulling it back in and looking maybe 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the track. So I want to be able to supplement my income, move up and down the levels as I can. One thing they sort of say is once your bankroll hits a certain level, you move from $1 $3 tables up to $2 $5 tables and you work your way up. Really important though is once you hit that target of your bankroll, if you go up, if you lose a few, you've got to drop back down. And apparently with ego and narcissism, people tend not to want to go down and they end up going broke. So I'm really looking at trying to find a way that I can discipline myself into putting these processes in place. So this is where my futuristic comes into play, and knowing that, okay, yes, I've been a gambler in the past. Yes, I've done all these sort of things. How am I going to get around this? How am I going to handle my emotions when it comes to money? And if things start to go well and I start to succeed, how do I manage this sort of setup? So one little way of doing it, again, I watched a video yesterday with Jonathan Little and Mike Sexton, and they did a 1 hour webinar on bankroll and losing money and how you can quickly lose it and spend too much and too quickly and all that sort of stuff. So one thing I thought of, well, one of the biggest issues I've had over time is having those little plastic cards in your wallet where you can just go to an ATM and just keep pulling cash out. And my fear was, well, you know, if I sit my bankroll in there, you know, if I go out and not through March, but maybe later, if I decide to, you know, enjoy a couple of drinks or whatnot, I'll go out and I'll just stick the card in and take more cash out and my bankroll will be depleted. So one way I thought around this is I'm pretty good at not going to the casino when I've been drinking. I avoid the place pretty much. I still find places to gamble in surface, but for me, it's you know, the casino, the drink prices and the gambling just makes it too easy to lose, you know, a lot of money. So what I was thinking is turning my bankroll into chips and just having chips at home, because I'm not going to take them out if I go out to dinner and want to have a few drinks after dinner or something like that. I'm not going to take chips with me. So I can condition myself to only take chips when I'm going to the casino, and then continue to just bankroll and build those chips up. Once I hit a certain level, then I can start cashing some and drawing a wage or paying some bills or doing something like that. I will admit, though, that's one thing that I haven't found yet, and admittedly I've only been looking into videos full-time sort of for the last month and looking at bankroll and all that sort of stuff. They talk about building it and building it and building it. One thing I haven't found is at what point do you start drawing down on it or spending it or using it to pay your bills? There's not a lot of clarification there, and I might just be missing something and the penny will drop. But again, with that activator of mine and timed with my maximizer wanting things to be perfect, I lack patience in those sense. And if I can't find the information, it sort of builds up a bit of frustration. And I'm aware of this. And this is part of what I'm going to be talking about in these recordings is my own self-awareness of my emotions and how that then causes my reactions. So obviously, if I lack patience, it's going to be an issue on the poker table. However, I will say that I tend to have a lot more patience on the poker table, which I think is a good thing. But in life, as I said, with Maximizer, we don't like weakness. We don't like incompetency. And I've just got to be mindful that I need a lot of patience when it comes to learning this stuff. And bankroll is one that I'm just not sure of. And this sort of adds to the procrastination. It sort of stops me from wanting to go forward. But anyway, and then number 6 is command. So another influencing talent. So you are direct and firm in the face of resistance or challenges. Because you are comfortable taking charge and speaking up, you can remove bottlenecks and reassure others in times of crisis. Frog in the throat. So, command, another influencing talent, comes across as very bullish. And I'm about 6'4", 105 kilos, I think I weighed in at. And that's something else I'm going to do. I'm going to weigh myself each week, share it with you on a Sunday, and see if not drinking for a month, I lose a bit of weight. Or does that mean that I'm going to be at home more and I'm going to eat more? Let's see. We'll find out. 104 kilos, which is about 215 pounds, I think. And that sort of suggests I've got a bit of presence at the table. And in life in general, the way I speak can come across quite harsh and quite demanding, and that's what this command is. People with command tend to speak in absolutes. So you always or you never, when in actual fact that's sort of suggesting 100% of the time when it's not really. We tend to have this concept in our heads that it happened yesterday, therefore it always happens. So being mindful of that suggests that, and I hear this a lot at the tables, oh, I never win with aces. I never win with pocket aces. Oh, I don't know how to play pocket jacks. I always lose with pocket jacks. And these are these absolutes that people put in their head. And oh, I never play that hand because I never win with that. They're conditioning themselves to believe that, therefore it becomes true. Now, yes, you're not going to win every time with pocket aces, but 80% of the time you will. And of course, it comes down to how you play them. But I've got to be really consciously aware of how my command sits in my learning. And I need to reduce the absolutes that I tend to use. So I've been told in the past that I have anger issues and I'm too pushy. That's my command. And we talk in the strengths world around basement and balcony. So when you're in the basement, you're down dark and it's all internalized and it's all about you and you're not doing well. Where when you're on the balcony, you're really blossoming and shining and using your strengths. So before I did all this strengths coaching and stuff about 4 or 5 years ago now, I was in the basement a lot of the time, and a lot of that had to do with this command because of the way I spoke. And what happens is, again, with my connectedness, I instantly feel rapport with people, where in actual fact there's probably not a connection there, or they don't feel connected. And my language and my tone comes across too harsh, and I could be mucking around, I could be joking, I could be sarcastic, and they really take it the wrong way. So I'm consciously aware of these things, and I'm going to put them into practice, and hopefully they work well. And then finally, communication, as I said, is Sunday today, day 7. You're good at capturing people's attention by what you say and how you say it. Your ability to find words for your own and others' thoughts and feelings highlights important messages and helps you make meaningful connections. So in other words, the best example I give when I'm speaking to someone who's just identified that they've got high communication is, remember when you were growing up and people are continuously telling others, think before you talk. Well, for a strategic thinker, that's great, because they do like to think before they speak. However, people high in communication, they need to speak before they think. And what that means is, and that might sound a bit backwards to you, but what that's doing is it's getting it out there in the universe, and they're actually hearing for themselves what they're saying, and then they can process that information. So for me, I'm really going to need a couple of people that I can speak to about different poker hands and how things are going. One thing that one of my early coaches in life in general identified, that my partner, she has 4 out of her top 5 strategic thinking strengths. And so she's very mindful in her head. And I'm high in influencing talents based with communication, which means I'm all about talking. She's about thinking, I'm about talking. So often I want to have this dialogue and talk to her and ask her questions. And so often for years it felt like she wasn't listening, she didn't care, she didn't respond. Once this was identified, we could then process, and Nick would go, okay, I've heard you, I understand the question, give me a bit of time, I'll get back to you tomorrow and I'll answer it for you. And over a short period of time, what we realised was I wasn't actually looking for an answer. I just needed a sounding board. I just needed someone to speak to. So again, this is part of the reason why I'm doing these recordings. It's not just for others to listen to. It's for me to get stuff off my chest and speak about how things are going, and obviously to be accountable to something. So they're my top 7 talents or strengths. I'm hoping that I'm developing them to a level. And that's what I intend on doing, is using these strengths to become a professional poker player. What does that mean to me? I'm not thinking earning $1 million a year. I'm thinking 6 figures would be nice. Hopefully by the time I'm 50, so I turn 47 this year, I'm giving myself about 3 and a bit years to get to that point. Now, some may say, geez, that's high level. Well, the way it's been broken down by these coaches is targeting $50 an hour at the poker tables. You put in 40 hours a week, that's $2,000 a week, which is $100,000 a year. That tends to be what they say is somewhere around the $2 to $5 table can get you earning around $50 an hour, which would be brilliant in my eyes. And it's tax-free in Australia, I believe. You can't get taxed on gambling, which is awesome. Otherwise, all the professional gamblers would be claiming all their losses. I think that's the reason why you don't pay tax. Don't quote me on that. I'll obviously speak to my accountant, which was still managing on my property and all that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of income there, so I can show that I'm earning something at least. So where does that leave me? This is my first recording of I'm wanting to become a professional poker player, using my strengths, journaling every day, putting in my intentions for the day, putting in my visualizations, and then coming and recording once a week, doing a podcast or a YouTube clip or whatever it is. You can reach me on chooseyourchapter.com.au. Emails on there, contact details, all that sort of stuff. If you ever want to do the StrengthsFinder or talk about strengths or even talk about poker, I'd love to connect with many people. So that's it, 30 minutes. I think that's a good start. I'm not sure how long one of these recordings should or shouldn't be. I've been told somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes is a pretty good way to start. So whether I'm going to have enough information every week, we'll see. But as I said, my intentions are to focus on the psychological and emotional stages that I'm going to go through over the coming weeks and months, and hopefully I'll start getting some results and start moving forward. So my first step is procrastination. Overcoming that procrastination, studying for the next 5 days, and getting down to the casino on Thursday night and giving it a roll. So apart from that, this was good fun. Sorry about the croak in the throat, but I will sign off there and look to talk to you next time. Alrighty, bye for now.